بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد النبي الأمين وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اتبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، له الملك وله الحمد، يحيي ويميت وبيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم لك الحمد أنت نور السماوات والأرض ومن فيهن، لك الحمد أنت قيم السماوات والأرض ومن فيهن، أنت ربي أنت ربي وأنت رب السماوات والأرض ومن فيهن، لك الحمد لك الملك، لك ملك السماوات والأرض ومن فيهن وإنك على كل شيء قدير. We always start with affirming our quintessential and fundamental relationship to Allah. Allah, the truth that holds the fabric of existence together. Allah, who gives meaning to creation and our existence. Without our iman, without our faith, our existence becomes pointless. And in fact, all of our endeavors become meaningless. Among the dua of the Prophet ﷺ that he would repeat very often is a dua that has become the light of existence for those who are fortunate enough to reflect on it and repeat it. And it was a very simple supplication to Allah. And the supplication was that حب الله اللهم بهدني حبك وحب من يحبك. Allah, grant me the blessing of loving you and loving those who love you. Of loving you and loving those who love you. Allah bestow upon us the wisdom of understanding the power and meaning and profound unfolding of loving Allah and of existing in the light of Allah's love and loving those who love Allah and loving what Allah has created and given to us. Some who might have become confused by the jargon of the modern age might think that it is sufficient to believe and to perform the ibadat, the rituals of praying and fasting, without more. But imagine, if you will, a hypothetical. Someone who knows has a relationship with someone else. That person is bestowed with extremely generous gifts for day after day, month, week after week, month after month, year after year. The gifts are literally endless. The gifts enable that person to walk, to exist, to see, to hear, to touch, to enjoy everything that consciousness is able to enjoy. What is, if you were looking at a picture like this, what would you think the recipient owes the giver? Gratitude at a minimum. But if you are given so much day after day, week after week, and you start reflecting upon the nature of the giver, you start reflecting upon the nature of the giver, and you start realizing that the giver wants nothing back in return, and gives you, whether you are grateful or ungrateful, whether you acknowledge the gift or you don't, and consistently forgives you for every transgression you commit, and in fact gives you more. Even when you transgress, gives you more. If your psychology is sound, you move from the realm of gratitude to the realm of reflection upon the nature of the giver. And if you reflect upon the nature of the giver, you are sound. You taste the sweet nectar of love. And the giver has given you an assurance, saying, if you love me, I will certainly love you back. I will make your existence full of the beauty of love. That is why our Prophet ﷺ would consistently repeat the dua of Allah bestow upon me the great blessing of love, loving you. Because if you love Allah, and if your heart becomes saturated with this love, you cannot help, you will not be able to help, but loving everything that comes from Allah. You will look upon the heavens and you will see the light of Allah, Nuru Samawati wal Ard. You will look below your feet and see the light of Allah. You will look to the left and the right and the left, and you will see the beauty of the light of Allah. And as your heart is saturated with this love, you will look upon everything that Allah created. And I mean everything. Other human beings, animals, birds, insects, land, plants, and you will feel nothing but love. Isn't this a state to work hard towards? Isn't this a blessed existence that anyone who fails to pursue it, you would feel a level of pity and a tinge of sadness because they're missing out on the pristine meaning of existence. You can exist in this world full of restlessness, anxiety, confusion, and moodiness. You can exist in this world doing your salah, concentrating sometimes, failing to concentrate other times, feeling close to Allah one time, not feeling that close to Allah another time. You can do your salah and sometimes not follow it with sin. Other times you do your salah and you live in sin. This is the ailment. The ailment, in fact, that we see around us every day. In my profession, among the fields that I deal with and teach are asylum law, refugees, and human trafficking. The trafficking and selling and buying of human beings and making them into slaves. We call this in my field the modern slavery. You see humanity feeding on each other with a stark commitment to materialism and fulfillment of the naked senses that reaches the proportions of the demonic. You work in a field like human trafficking and you see the rich exploit the poor, while the rich will spend generously on their luxuries and in their enjoyment. They will force the poor to work endless hours for practically nothing and not think twice about the meaning of what they do. You will see the world around you full of areas of sexual exploitation. The net has become like the vehicle of the devil, full of human beings exploiting other human beings for gain. Brothers and sisters, if you think we are immune, I'm here to tell you we are not. One of the saddest things in my field is that I discovered that in the places of dirt, that's the only way could describe it, places of the ever-growing and burgeoning industry of pornography, there is now a regular category called Muslim. In the same way there's a category for all types of pornographic headings. One of them has become Muslim. We Muslims are in a ghafla. We are in a ghafla, we are in a state of oblivion because we think that practicing our rituals is enough. But if your heart is saturated with Allah's love, you become empowered in ways that are unimaginable. You become as if a ball of energy approaching life and existence with an optimism and a passion for divinity in everything. That is the heart of our faith. That is the essence of what Islam is. It teaches you that truth is light, and light is is divine, is the divine. And the divine is beauty and love. And understanding that love is the height of wisdom and fulfillment. There is nothing beyond that. And indeed, that is the only proper meaning for our existence. والله يستجب لكم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. I often ask myself, as I'm sure many of you do, what is the way out for the undeniable subjugation of Muslims around the world? Muslims around the world are subjugated and disempowered and dispossessed. If you look around the world, you will find Muslims in particular are paying the tax bill for modernity, for the ideas of globalization and new world order. Well, of course, we all know that the solution is not the obscenity and the grave sin of terrorism. That is an offense against Allah, Allah's love, and Allah's creation. That is hiraba, and hiraba is the grave sin in Sharia. Our world is a world that responds to those who have commitment to their causes. And our world understands these commitments in financial terms. Now here is the thing. If you love Allah, in direct proportion to your love, the nature of dunya, the nature of materialism, slips away from your heart. The more you love Allah, the more you don't really care about fancy labels for your clothes, what car you drive, how prestigious your zip code is, how impressive and large and fancy your home is. That comes without effort. As Imam Hamid al-Ghazali said, that your heart is like a jug. If you fill it with love in direct proportion, the air of materialism or the air of dunya is ejected. But brothers and sisters, here's the problem. We Muslims in the West and the United States confront a systematic, extremely well-funded organization or campaign of Islamophobia that now has reached the highest levels of power, not just in the United States, but Italy, France, Germany, Switzerland, Iceland, you name it. The Islamophobes are so well funded that they are able to dedicate armies of intellects to demonize you and to deform your image before the world. We Muslims, I will tell you right now, if you rely on public ministries of Muslim countries in Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Jordan, in the Emirates, if you rely on these ministries to respond to Islamophobia, good luck. You saw our President Trump go to Saudi Arabia and do that dance with the royals, and having Trump dance the Bedouin dance with the royals is not going to respond to Islamophobia. It doesn't do anything to respond to Islamophobia. Islamophobes have outspent us on every step of the way. Outspent us by millions and millions of dollars. They are driven by hate. You are driven by love. And they spend on your hate, they spend on hate hundreds of times more than you spend on your message of love. Is it that we're poor? Statistically, Muslims in the United States, at least, are not poor. I go to the homes of many Muslims and I see very fancy homes in very fancy areas. And I'm often invited by my generous guests to take a tour of their large homes and their large residences and their prestigious zip codes. And something aches in me because I know that if the love of Allah was the reality of so many Muslims, we would not define ourselves by our possessions. And we would spend to defend our faith more than those who spend to defile our faith. And I'm reminded of the Quranic verse, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ عَاهَدَ اللَّهَ لَئِنْ أَتَانَا مِنْ فَضْلِهِ لَنَصَّدَّقَنَّ وَلَنَكُونَنَّ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ فَلَمَّا أَتَاهُمْ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ بَخِلُوا بِهِ وَتَوَلُّوا وَهُمْ مُعْرِضُونَ. There are so many, and the verse says, who at the time of need they say, Ya Allah, Allah, just give us. Allah irzuqna. Allah bestow success upon us. Allah raise my salary. Allah made my business successful. Allah, and they have in their heart this feeling that, oh, if only I had money, I would do this and I would do that. And when Allah gave them and made them well off, they became stingy. So many of us could find ourselves in this position when at the beginning stages you are doing your prayers with great focus and concentration because you want to do dua and ask Allah to give you and bestow blessings upon you and generous gifts of more material gains. But once we have it, I will tell you that sociologically, Muslims in the United States and also in Europe generally are among the most stingy minorities there is. I am not talking about building mosques, brothers and sisters. I'm not talking about building even schools for our children. I am talking about spending money on institutions that respond to Islamophobia. I'm a professor at UCLA. At UCLA, very recently, the Japanese community gave plenty of money to open up its center for Japanese studies. There is a center also for Chinese studies because the Chinese community gave a lot of money to open up that center. There is a center for Hebrew studies, a center for Jewish studies, and a center for Israeli studies, all by private donations. There is a center for Mexican studies. There is a center for Native American studies, all by private donations. Islamic studies, there's no center and there is no money. And in fact, a long time ago, they wanted to close Islamic studies and I fought to keep it open. And alhamdulillah, I did. But now there's a new campaign again to close down Islamic studies. And you know why? Because Islamic studies is financed through the university itself, and the Muslim community is absent. We don't need demonstrations, we don't need signs, we don't need rhetoric, we don't need talk. We need the love of Islam to move people to support institutions that represent Islam and that can engage the mainstream to deflect and respond to and repel Islamophobia. And that's not going to happen until the investments by people to defile and defame Islam is matched and perhaps even exceeded, if one dares to dream, by the investments to defend and to represent the light of Islam in this country and else and beyond. The beauty of Islam in this country and beyond. The love that Islam teaches to humanity in this country and beyond. إني داع فأمنوا. اللهم اصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا، واصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا، واصلح لنا آخرتنا التي فيها معادنا. اللهم اجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير، واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر. Allah, we ask you to bestow your grace upon our life on this earth and to grant us the graceful blessing of loving you and loving those who love you. Allah, give us the insight and the wisdom to defend your faith and represent it as the way we should, so we will be able to defend ourselves when we stand before you in the final day. Well,